Well, finally we get to meet.
Yeah. This is Ruby.
Oh, yeah. Oops, I didn't need to do
This church.
that.
She was here before I was. And
Really?
so when I came to church here,
Uh-huh.
but down south, this was the church, first church I did visit a lot of churches here in Racine,
Mm.
because she was already a member here. And then my sister was, so I started to come in here, and Reverend J.B. Bailey was the pastor there. And
J.B.
J.B. Bailey.
Bailey.
He
That's
was
a
from
cool name.
Alabama, Louisiana. So when he retired, he went back down there, and then Pastor Gerber came here.
Wow. That's interesting. So you do you know what this class is kind of about, or has he talked to you about it at all, or?
No, he said this was going on with Black History Week,
Yeah.
and he said the class was doing about migration.
Yeah, about the Great Migration from the
Migration,
South,
yeah.
correct, yeah.
And
And so what we're supposed to do is what they call, it's like a community outreach kind of project for this semester. And we've read a couple of books, we've listened to a bunch of music from the Great Migration, which is some of my favorite music to listen to, actually, because I've visited the South, and my favorite city in the whole United States is New Orleans. I've been there every year.
Oh, you were there?
Oh, I love it. it's but more so for the culture and for the people, and
it's a good place.
Mhm.
I'm in Mississippi, so
Yeah.
my kids live in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And they write down. So when we go there to Gulfport, we go on to New Orleans and hang out. And a lot of my cousins live in New Orleans.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, which parts of New Orleans, may I ask? I'm just curious.
They just said New Orleans down by
Main parts of it, or?
yeah, and Biloxi and down.
Okay.
Down through there.
Have you heard of Tchoupitoulas Street or Canal Street? Of course.
Yeah.
So Tchoupitoulas is right off of it. That's where our timeshare condominium would be.
Okay.
And so we were just really familiar with that.
Mhm.
So what I'm supposed to just listen. I'm here to listen to you. If I hope you don't mind me recording. If you don't want me to, don't have to.
Mhm.
If you prefer me not to record, I don't have to.
Okay.
Are you
Just
okay?
ask questions and I can answer.
Sure.
them.
Let's start with
How I got here.
where you were born. Let's start
Okay.
with that.
Okay. I was born in Mount Olive, Mississippi.
Okay.
Little town, little country town. It was about 10 miles out of our city.
Uh-huh.
And the city wasn't that big. It was just our little nice little town that you could go on a Saturday, get groceries and do shopping. And we had a few stores, but not a lot.
Uh-huh.
And
So very rural, kind
we
of.
were kind of everybody in our area was in the rural, white and black. We all lived together.
And which year was this, may I ask?
Oh, I was born in 41.
Oh, wow.
1941.
So the year World War II started.
Right.
That's amazing to think of, because I study World War II all the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead. Keep
And,
going.
That was how far. And we had a farm. We lived on a farm in Mississippi. My dad owned his own farm, and he had 40 acres. And so we had cotton, and we grew everything that we needed, except the only thing we had to buy in town was flour and sugar and stuff like that. But all that everything else we grew. He grew his farm, produced it.
Very simple.
Very simple. And he just wanted to make a living for his family. It was 9 of us, 9 children. And
Wow.
3 boys and 6 girls. And I was the 8th girl. And my brother was 9. He was the baby. I had a brother.
Oh, wow.
Under me. And we had cotton. We picked cotton, planted corn, and all kind of patches, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And each year, mm, by me being the youngest, me and my brother, everybody started growing up and leaving home at different times.
Yeah.
You know, we left home in stages, you know.
Yeah. Right.
And when I graduated from high school, I went to high school down there, finished high school in Carver, Mississippi. That's what, at Carver Central High School. That was my high school that I finished high school at. When I left there, I came to Racine. And my sister, Pearl, she and her husband lived here then. And then we came, they put us up, and I went to work at St. Mary's Hospital. And I worked with the nuns and everything till I got married. And I met my husband here. But he was from Mississippi too, Oxford, Mississippi. And, but I met him
Through.
I met him here at the church, old church over here. That's where I saw him at.
Mm.
And I guess when I left home, I had prayed of my life here, and I got just what I asked for.
So what was it that you were looking for?
I was looking for a husband like my daddy.
Mm.
I asked for that before I left. And I wanted a husband that would take care of me and my family, and he would be a church person.
Mm.
And I got
Man of God.
A man of God.
Yeah.
And I got that. And a good father to my children. He was that. I got that. And we was married 43 years before he passed away. And got married over here to this old church here, St. Paul. And we both we went to work. I didn't work until my baby. We had 4 children. I didn't go to work until he was out of kindergarten.
Mm.
He was in first grade. I stayed home all that time while we was married. And my husband worked. He worked at Case and he worked at Johnson Wagner.
Oh, okay.
So he worked 2 jobs. So I didn't work until he went to school. And then I went to work at Johnson. And
Where did he go to school?
my kids, while
Oh.
they went to school.
Oh, while your
While
kids
they-
went to school.
when they was in
Okay.
school. Uh-huh.
Okay. Good.
So so I didn't have to work
Oh.
at state. I was a stay-home mom.
Yeah, working hard at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to know, as best as you can recollect your thoughts, just because I know I'm just young and I'm just trying to figure things out in a different perspective.
Mhm.
Like how was it living in Mississippi during that time, during the civil rights times, and during even World War II? Even what was it like? I mean, did you guys even care about World War II as much as people have brought it up today, or did they like?
You know, my father,
Yeah.
he was in the service,
Okay.
World War II. But all that stuff, I can remember when the war ended.
Yeah.
We was at
47.
47, something like that, in
Yeah.
the 40s, because
Yeah.
I was born, I must have been about 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah. I mean, barely.
Barely,
even
yeah. But
living.
I can remember when it ended, because there
Yeah.
were so many planes at one time came over where we
Really?
lived at. They would just one plane right after another, you know. And
Like flying overhead.
Yeah, or flying overhead.
Ah.
And then as we got older, they said that's when the war was ending and things was coming apart. So that's what I knew about the war.
Yeah.
You know, but my dad was in it, but we didn't. And he stayed in the American Legion for years because he would go to meetings all the time. But we never had no experience with the war.
No,
Uh-uh.
I wouldn't have assumed so. I just,
Yeah.
that's exactly what my grandparents have said. They just said, yeah, we were just children at that time,
Right, right.
So what, when you were at that age, do you remember, what did you guys do for fun? Did you guys go outside and play? Did you go to church?
We went to church.
Yeah.
The church that I belonged to in Mississippi
Mm-hmm.
was the oldest Baptist church, Harmony, Harmony Baptist Church. That was the name of the church.
Mm.
And that's where we all grew up. That's where our fun was.
Yeah, it was community right there.
The community,
Yeah.
We all met at the church for Sunday school and church, and for revivals. We, what a revival is. That's
For a revival?
Revival.
Yeah.
We would have a revival every summer in July.
Yeah.
The first Sunday in July, that was the Sunday. We would have a revival all that week. And different churches would come to visit our church. And then when they would have one revival, we would go visit their church. And that's how we spent time together. We had,
Mm-hmm.
You had the ministers, and they would, after your church, they would run the revival, and you would have them for dinner on a Sunday.
Mm.
They would come to your house, and your parents would fix this big table of food and feed the preacher and whoever he bring with him.
So remind me, because my definition of a revival might be different than yours.
Mhm.
So what was a revival?
Revival was just a week of preaching and teaching,
Okay.
and different. You used to have testimonies and singing and
Mm-hmm.
praising and all that kind of stuff would go on all that week.
Mm.
And that's where the old hymns and things, you learn all that.
Mm.
And it was just a good time. You revive your soul. That's what they call it.
Revive your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Was that so it's mainly, so your church did consist of any what kind of music? Was it just straight up a cappella gospel? Was it have an
Gospel.
organ at all?
We had piano. We
The
didn't
piano?
have organ. But we had gospel singers and
Mm.
gospel. Mahalia Jackson and all these people was popular then.
Mm.
We would have that kind of music, and different choirs, different churches would come and sing, and that's.
And you said that was it a mixed church? Did you guys, or was it mainly consist of, was it African American church, or?
Yeah, it was mostly. We didn't have black and white
Okay.
in the country. They had their churches, but we didn't have them together.
Mm.
We didn't go together. We didn't go to church together. We knew that the white church was in our community, the black church was in our community, so we would pass by just like the schools were.
Yeah.
Before they would integrate it. We would pass right by the white school to go to our school, the black school. And then when they did integrate the schools, that was when a lot of confusion, we remember reading about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of confusion, but when they converted my high school to the integrated white school,
Mm.
they made our school the regular grade school, and they took the white school and made the white school high school. And when I graduated in 1961,
Okay. That's, yeah, in the middle of some harsh times.
right, that's when integration was really
Yeah.
booming, And all our high school pictures,
Yeah.
they took them off the wall and threw them in the garbage. I didn't even see my high school picture until I went home one summer, and my cousin, he was a teacher,
Mm.
and he said he found them in the garbage, and he took them all out and made a copy for all of us. And he gave me one when I went home, and that's how I got my high school picture.
I got it back.
Yeah, I got it back.
Talk to me a little bit more about, like, I mean, that's a huge part of Black History Month for us, was just trying to figure out what it was like to live in segregated times, in discriminatory times. It sounds so foreign to me because it's just stories for me, and I'd never been able. Thank God, right? But like,
Right.
I've never lived through anything like that before.
But you know, in our community where we live,
Mm-hmm.
in the country that we live,
Mm-hmm.
where we lived in Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have a lot of
Segregation.
segregation because the white people that lived there was farmers too.
Yeah,
So we had to live together.
you had to work together.
We had to work together, and
Yeah.
that's how
Really.
my daddy's farm was here.
Mm-hmm.
His brother's farm was there. Mr. Hughes' farm was right there. That's the white man.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lamar's farm was over there, and down the road there was the Lennon's farm, and they owned the town.
White family.
The white family. They owned our little town that we stayed in. And when we used to drive by their house down the road, and the road is the Lennon Road now.
Mm.
That's what it's called now. And I used to say, boy, one of these days I'm gonna have a driveway like that.
Mm.
When I got here, where I live at right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like his house.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. But I knew I would one day would have
I
that.
have a driveway like that.
Uh-huh. And when we would have something, we would, like our farm, if we had something that the white people didn't have, we would share that together. And when we kill hogs and had fresh meat, if they didn't do that we did that. And when they got some ours, so we shared everything
Really?
like that.
That's great. So you really couldn't. I mean, it's hard to sustain oneself if you can't work together in a community
That's right.
as small as that, a
Mhm.
farming community.
Mhm.
That's so modest, but that's great.
That's the way it was before we lived at.
That's. Forgive me, but that sounds a lot. I mean, that sounds really nice. And
It-
I'm.
So I can't relate to the hard times some people had
Yeah.
because I can't.
Well, thank God you didn't have to as much.
I didn't have to as much.
No.
But I don't say that to be boastful.
No.
But I'm telling you what, everybody didn't go through the same thing
Okay.
that everybody did, and there were some bad times.
Yeah.
All of us.
Have you gone through anything yourself other than? I mean, that sounds
Unbelievable.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Coming out of Mississippi.
Yeah.
But it happens there.
Yeah.
It happens there. It happened in the community that we lived in. And everybody that came out of that community can tell my story. Because that's what we went to.
That's great.
You know. Only thing I didn't like when we was coming out, the kids, the white kids that we was with, we didn't have no trouble about it. We played together, we ate together. But the only thing I didn't like about it, they called my parents by their name, and we had to call their parents Mr. and Mrs. That was and it always bothered me from a child.
Really?
But I never questioned it because that's what Papa and Mama taught us. You say yes, ma'am, and they did say yes, ma'am, and to my parents too, but they just called them by their name.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I never asked questions when you was small. You didn't. You just did what they say. You called them.
You don't question it.
No question. Mm-hmm. But that I stuck out with me. Why I have to say Mr. Malak? You know, why do I have to say Miss Leo? And you call my mama Hattie. But that's the way it was.
That is weird.
Mm.
I mean, I'm grateful for being ignorant in this case because I was expecting to hear, you know, that it was very, very discriminatory and that everything was segregated and you you were harassed, and you know, through everything that I've learned, it's like, and even with my classmates, they're the people that they've spoken to, like they've told stories of, you know, terrible things. But I that's great to hear. I'm happy to hear that.
Miss I don't know how to say this, but when I never wanted to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be smart. I wanted to be, and my daddy used to say, we call him Papa all the time. That's why I said Papa. He said, if you do what God wants you to do what God tell you to do, obey
Mm-hmm.
Him,
Mm-hmm.
and obey your parents,
Mm-hmm.
and do the right thing. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you can get as far as God will take you
Mm-hmm.
without a college education. And my parents, we didn't have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to go to college like I saw some of the girls do and get pregnant or mess up. And the parents done lost all that money. And I didn't want to do that. So I decided to come to Wisconsin.
Yeah, what was it about Wisconsin?
Because we migrated here. Everybody came. Because my first of Wisconsin, because a lot of people in Mississippi had never heard of black
I was
people.
gonna say, yeah, what was it you heard? How did you hear about Wisconsin itself?
It was my sister Pearl's husband. His parents lived in Jackson, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So they heard about jobs coming. You come to Wisconsin, you get a good job in the factories. They had a lot of factories here. It was a working man's town. You can get a job anywhere.
Great.
And my husband worked 2 jobs, he and his brother. And you can get a job, and they would bring people here on buses and stuff to work in Case and American Motors and places like that. And you could make good money without an education. So that's how everybody heard about Wisconsin. So after they started coming to Wisconsin, we migrated. We came one by one. When one finished high school, my sister would send back and get that one. When they got here and got a job, they would send back and get the next one. And a lot of young men from my community, they would come here and work at Cases and go back home in the summertime on vacation because they were shut down for a month.
Mm.
And then they would go back home and regroup and bring somebody else with them. And that's how a lot of people from Mississippi got to Wisconsin.
Mm.
And that's how we did.
And so you said you took a bus. You took the bus to get to Wisconsin?
No, my sister came in the car.
Oh, okay.
And when we came back from vacation,
Mm-hmm.
they came on vacation and got me. And we came to Wisconsin to Racine. And my brother's girlfriend worked at St. Mary's Hospital.
Okay.
So she had already got me a job when I got here.
Wow.
I got here on the weekend. I went to work that Monday.
Really? Oh my God. Straight
But
up.
That's how he said God would make a way for you.
Yeah.
Your way would be already made. You just don't know about it.
Yeah, I believe that. I do believe that.
And that's what happened with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was already made. I just had to follow what was laid out there for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got here, she had already got a job for me, his girlfriend. And I worked at St. Mary's when there was the nuns was running the hospital. The sisters were. And on a Sunday, I would work with just the nuns.
Hmm.
And I got to be close to them, and they got to be close to me, and they wanted to convert me to nun, to be a nun, be Catholic. And on a Sunday, it wouldn't be nobody there but me and the nuns. So we would work close together. We would talk a lot, and they would ask me questions about myself and my religion and all that kind of stuff. And
Like what?
I says, Sister Camilla, I said, Sister, just listen. I said, now, I'm not being mean or nothing. I just want you to know this one thing, me and you can get along. I said, now there's good Catholics and there's good Baptists. And I'm a good Baptist.
Mm.
And that was the end of that. She never said anything else about me, about my religion or nothing. We just worked hand in hand. And a good thing happened, because my daddy said, good things will follow you. My brother was here, he lived here too. And he got sick, he was a diabetic. He got sick and he had to go to the hospital. And I had to sign him in, admit him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I was singing, just got here and everything, and didn't know nothing. But Sister Camilla had me to sign him in, and when I signed him in, that was my bill. So when he died, after he died, she had me to come up to the office, and I went up to the office, and she took the head of the hospital here, took the bill that was for him, and tore it up in front of me. And she said, that's the end of that.
Mm-hmm. How was she able to do that?
You don't, because this was a Mercy Hospital, St. Mary's Hospital. And that was the end of my bill. I didn't have no responsibility after that. And that's how good things follow you.
I love that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So after that, I stayed here. I think I worked about 3 or 4 years. Then I got married.
Mm.
And then I didn't work no more. But they wanted me to work while I was pregnant. But I didn't work. I didn't have to work after I got married. And so I left here. And
how many children do you have? How many children do you have?
I have 4.
You have 4 children.
Mm-hmm. I have three boys and 1 girl.
Okay.
And they scattered all over. My one son moved back to Racine, and he lives with me now.
How old are your children, if I may ask?
50. The oldest is 54,
Okay.
and 30-something. My oldest son lives with me. He's back here,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in his 40s. He's just turned 50. He's 52, I think. Just turned 52, and he has a boy. He has two boys and 1 girl. And they grown. His kids are grown. My son that lives in Memphis, in Tennessee, he's my second son, and he has a set of twin girls and 1 girl. So he had 3 kids, and he works for the state of Tennessee, and his wife teaches there.
Mm-hmm.
And my son that lives in Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
he's my baby boy, and he spent 12 years in the Air Force. He left and went to the Air Force right after high school, and he's working for the state now, for the government now
In D.C.
in D.C. He came back to D.C., and that's where he made his home, and so he works there. And my daughter is in Dallas. She was living here, but then she got a divorce, and she had 1 child, and she moved to Texas, and migrated out there because we had people living out there, and she moved out there, and she has her own business. She has a florist, and she's a wedding coordinator.
Oh, okay.
And
Cool.
they were all doing well. They all doing well. And I told her when she left, because she was by herself and she wasn't married, I said, one thing I want you to do for me, if you don't do nothing else. I want you to find you a good job. No, I want you to find you a good doctor and a good church.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, somebody in that church gonna take care of you and your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it was a lady that worked, an older lady, an older mother, gave her a gas card and said, honey, I want you to be able to come to Bible class every night. And this is for you. And she said she'd been with her. She would come home, and her daughter was still in grade school. And this lady would come to her house and help her daughter do her homework at night while she worked.
Wow, that's great.
So you have to move in the right way
Mm.
and have people to
Support you.
support you. And when you do good to people, do good will come to you.
Mm. I love that. I you had always said that. I mean, we've only been talking for just a little bit, but I get the sense that you're kind of. I'm trying to put this into words. So, you said that good things will follow you if you continue to live through Christ, right? So, what do you feel? Oh my gosh. What do you feel? Excuse me. Is the most?
No, emotional.
Does it go on? Okay.
Mhm.
Is the most? What do you feel What do you feel very blessed about? What are the things that you are grateful for after moving to Wisconsin, or even previously to Wisconsin? What are the things that have stuck out to you?
I'm grateful that my parents that I had in Mississippi
Mm-hmm.
prepared me for this life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for them.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the life that he's given me since I've been in Wisconsin.
Mm.
Because when I left home, I didn't know nothing but the country. I didn't know what city people did.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. And people don't even call it a city anymore, really.
And,
I've never seen.
yeah,
But,
you know.
yeah.
But this was the biggest thing I had seen before when I left Mississippi. I didn't even go all over Mississippi,
Mm.
so I didn't know what to expect.
Mm.
But they prepared me.
They prepared you. So today it's just we're covering so much ground, but what is it that, today we have a new president. We have, I guess, do you feel that society is more segregated today than a long time
A long time ago.
ago? Do you think it's very segregated as it was
It's
before?
changed so much.
It
The
hasn't
world has
changed, or it has
so
changed.
So much from what we grew up with.
Yeah.
People is not as close as
They used to be?
they used to be.
Really?
They didn't care about each other. You know, if there's a lot of good things have happened, but look like we going backwards.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How so, do you think? Just by the way we communicate with each other, and
Mhm.
we don't really care for one another as
Right,
much.
we don't care for people like we used to.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. That's really interesting to think about. So you think that we're going backwards as a society
Mm-hmm.
for who we talk to and how we treat one another, and
Mm-hmm.
what about do you have optimism for the future? What do you think's gonna?
Oh, I have a lot of optimism. But I think we're just going through stages because
Mm.
I know for myself, my religion tells me that God is in control.
My religion too. I do
So
too. I believe that.
so I know that
Yeah.
this is His world.
Yeah.
But we try to. We're so smart now.
We're too smart.
We've gotten smart.
Very developed. Yeah.
And if we
Yeah.
can't read it or we can't see it, we don't believe it.
That's true.
And see, God works with spirit,
With faith.
faith. That's what you have to have, faith.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the faith to believe that He's in control, you would think somebody else is controlling my life,
Yeah.
or somebody else is causing me to have this. We don't see it as a blessing coming from God.
I think people are very individualistic. They don't turn even to one another as much as they don't turn to God as much.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever decision making or logical thinking anybody has, especially young people, I've noticed this. Young people I mean, in my age group, millennials, their drive force for any decision making or logical reasoning or thinking stems from themselves and only themselves, not from their mom or dad, not from the people that surround themselves that are good role models, or not even from God. And I think that we're pushing and pulling a lot, and there's such a segregation in society and in politics and whatever it is, you know. I'm just very curious. I'm an international studies major, and I love learning about. I'm actually graduating this May, but I love learning about how people acted or how people reacted to one another, but it's great to hear that you lived in a home that was so loving and a community that shared with each other, and you migrated here in faith and knowing God, and you got to work right away, literally right away. And
I had said I came here in July,
yeah,
and I had to walk across. I had to walk to the next block over there to get the bus to get it to work. But I had to work there. I had to walk there, and I said, "Oh Lord, if you let me get through this winter, I'm going back home." And it was so cold. It was so cold. I thought
You never went through something like that before.
I never been through that before. It was so cold.
It's the worst. Wisconsin on the lake.
Yeah. Yes, by that lake over there.
Yeah.
It was so cold. I said, if I get through this winter, I'm going back home. So I got through the winter.
But you didn't go back home.
And when I told my dad, my mom and my dad, that I was getting married, my papa says, well, you tell her, if she loved him as much as I love my barn, and his barn he had built a big house for his animals. So he had 2 horses, two mules and a horse. And the big house was where he put the corn and stuff that we had raised that year. So that's what a barn was. And he said, if she loved him as much as I love my barn, I know she'll be with him.
Yeah.
So that's how I tell people, I don't think I ever heard Papa or Mama say, Bob, I love you. But what did they go by? That he didn't prove that he did, for what he did or what he said to me. I knew he loved me. He didn't say it because they didn't do that back there. They didn't say, like we do, oh honey, I just love you, I do this, sweetie, I love you. He never did that. But to bring us little treats when he went to town, or to give us nice things on our birthday, or they didn't call it birthday, they just brought something, and you knew this was special for you.
A lot of times actions speak louder than words.
And that's how he expressed it.
Yeah. Through his actions.
Yeah, through his action.
Yeah.
Every day he did that.
My father was the same way, actually. I mean, through his actions, through caring, through, if it was yelling because I did something wrong, or if it was,
Yeah.
you know.
And he didn't have to do that much.
Yeah.
We knew his ways. We knew what he would stand for.
Mm.
And we didn't cross that line.
Good.
You know.
Good.
He would say, we would say, Papa, can we do this? Can we go here? No, you can't go. That was it. We didn't have to say why. We never said why. Why? Because you can't. Because I said so.
Mm.
And my mom used to say, and she would never say yes to us. She would say, go ask your pa. If he said yes, then it was okay with her. And she stopped saying that because she knew he wasn't going to say no. And so that kind of, but she never, if he had said something, if he had said no to something, she would never say yes.
Right.
She would never do that. And I learned how to be a wife by watching her.
That's great. My parents were the same way.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. My parents, except it was the other way around. It was, I would ask my dad. If I could, spend the night at a friend's house or go to a campfire or something.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in northern Wisconsin, colder.
Yeah.
But I would ask my dad, and I would be like, "Can I do this?" And he's like, "You gotta ask mom."
Yeah.
Gotta ask mom.
Yeah.
And I would ask mom, and I'd beg her. Before even she would answer, I would beg her.
Yeah. We could beg mom and get a yes.
Before to get the yes, but if she said no, I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But I watched her, watching to be a wife, to be married, because we didn't do a lot of dating.
Yeah.
And they just about knew everybody in the community. The boys that we played with, because usually one house in the community would be the playhouse. All the kids would go to one house and hang at that house.
Wow.
So if on a Sunday evening it might be 20 or 30 kids at that house.
Holy cow.
And that's where we played together, or we did something, unless we were going to church together, to another church, to visit another church.
Yeah.
But if we're going to hang out, it would be at some house in that community. So every parent in that community had authority over your kids. If you was at that house that day, you was under their control.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that. See, it's not too different, I suppose. Not really. I was raised by parents who I think I should share this with you because I can kind of relate, but like I migrated to the United States. I immigrated. And I came from country of Bulgaria when I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
When I was 8 years old. But I was adopted. So I lived in an orphanage for 8 years of my life in a country far, far away.
Okay.
And when I was 8 years old, when I was actually 5 years old, my mom and dad from Green Bay area, from around Green Bay, they were like in their late 30s at that time. They came to the United States. I was 5 years old at the time, or came to the Bulgaria. I was 5. They visited the orphanage, and they met me, and I was the next person in line to be adopted. I had been there for the longest time, and they ended up. Yeah, they ended up, signing papers and doing full payments, which is actually expensive, but they've been looking to have a child for a long time. And anyways, it took like 3 years for the actual process to come through and go through. So I lived I met the parents, and they spoke English, and they were strangers to me in the orphanage, and I didn't know what was happening actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I very much was attached to them just from a one day of hanging out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they left. 3 years later, I took a flight by myself from Sofia, Bulgaria, to LaGuardia Airport in New York City, to Chicago O'Hare, where my parents from Green Bay met me. And we drove, and my first meal in the United States was from KFC.
Oh yeah. You know, I've seen that same
Culture shock,
story.
huh?
No, I've seen that same story
Yeah.
on TV. How people have gone to different countries, Africa and everywhere, and adopt kids and
Mhm.
brought them back here,
Mhm.
and how long it took. We got a lady at our church
Yeah.
that was from Green Bay, I think somewhere in Green Bay. Some people got in touch with when she was in Africa,
Oh, okay.
and her family. That's how she got here.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, I mean, so migration is, everybody has their own story, I think.
Hmm. And it's a story that can't nobody tell but you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you hear my story and you say, "Well, that don't sound like something I heard."
Yeah. I love that I was wrong. I love that I was wrong. Oh man, I love that. I think that's part of learning experiences. That's why we do this. You know.
You know, at my community and my parents, we had everything that I thought a person could have.
Yeah.
We wasn't rich. We just had it all
Yeah. Everything you needed.
that we needed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what Papa would say. God supplied. He said, "I'll supply your needs." We didn't have to buy nothing from the store but flour and sugar, and that's it. All the rest of the stuff we grew.
Yeah. What did you guys eat?
We
Like,
had a garden.
So vegetables, a lot of vegetables.
A lot of
and
vegetables, a lot of fruit.
any proteins at all, or
We had corn.
okay,
We had
So starch.
potatoes.
okay,
We had we had syrup. We had made our own syrup, cooked sugar cane, and we had
yummy. That sounds great.
we had our own fruit. We had fruit trees and all around the area.
Hmm.
You would have what we call blueberries here.
Mm.
They would grow in the woods. So all we had to do was go out in the woods and pick fruit,
Mm.
and the fig trees and the apple trees and the blackberries, blueberries.
I can imagine you guys had wonderful weather over there.
Yeah.
Beautiful like sunsets and everything, and
And he said, if you plant it, and God will grow it.
you supply it.
He will supply it, and that's what he did. And what we wanted for was things we didn't need. We wanted what we wanted, but what we needed, he supplied it for us.
That's great. I love your story. I think it's so great. Huh. So, I'm 25 years old. I'm graduating this May. Trying to still figure out what to do with my life and where to go. I have ideas.
Mhm.
So, having 4 children and you going through your own migration, what do you recommend? What is your advice for someone at my age who's going through a new chapter of life? I would like to know that.
What was your parents like?
What was my parents like?
Mm-hmm.
My parents were amazing. It takes a special kind of person to adopt
Mm-hmm.
a child,
Yeah.
you know?
My sister did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are special, special people.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really understood, I never really got the full had the full appreciation until I was graduated from high school, when I was not kicked out, but when I decided to go to school down here. And I mean, this it's been a whole new life of my own of being independent, struggling a bit, um, you know, whether it be financially or not. I mean, academically, maybe not really. I'm pretty good with school, and then, but socially, I have made the best friends that I could have imagined. But my parents, going back to that, are just, they are one of a kind. They have always loved and supported anything I've ever done, and supported me, whether it's through the love, or financially, or being there for events, or doing whatever they had to do to help me so far. And right now, my mom is 65 years old, and my dad, I think he's nearly 60. I think he's 60 now. Yeah, but it's just it's at a point now where it's time to figure out what to do next. Yeah, and I pray about it all the time. I know that God, like you have said, is going to. If it's with faith that God will lead it.
It's that's what you gotta go with.
Yeah.
Because when I left home, I had no, like the Bible said, when Abraham left and he didn't know which way he was gonna go.
What was the story about Abraham?
Abraham.
Yeah.
When he left, God told him to go west, to go whatever he did, and that's the way he went. But when I left home, just like my son, my baby that's in Washington, he told me, he said, Mama, when I left home out of high school, going into the Air Force, I didn't know where I was going or what was going to happen. I just went. And the way he went was the way God had directed. He didn't know that, but he was directed to go that way. And I think you'll do the same thing. Your parents was put enough in you to know right from wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think you'll take that right path.
I agree.
Wherever it leads you.
I do think so.
I think that's the way you're gonna go.
Have my own great migration, huh?
You will. You'll surprise yourself.
Then some young kid will ask me if they can interview me.
Right. You will do that.
That's funny.
And
yeah.
But I can't say if I had to do all over again. I think I would take the same path.
Really?
Because I've had a good life. To come to where I see these kids gotta go now. If I'd have came earlier or later, I don't think I would have made it with what I got. Because coming out of high school with a high school education and wasn't that smart, I wasn't terrific. But I know doors have been open for me that I couldn't open myself. And I'm not saying I was given a lot of stuff.
No.
I earned it. Because whatever I did, I tried to do my best with what I did. And that's all God asks you for is your best.
I like that. So in this class we have to, I think it's called Music of the Great Migration, but we focus on the Great Migration. But can you name off anything that you had jived at or loved listening to?
I love Nat King Cole.
Nat King Cole. I love Nat King Cole. Oh yeah, that's good.
I love spiritual
okay.
music.
Yeah.
I love I'm a supper person, but I like classic. I like things done well. Even with Dr. Kitchener's son playing with his musical the other day,
Yeah.
it wasn't hearing the music; it was seeing the action. That it
What was he doing?
he he did classic music, now
Piano or?
a piano.
Okay.
Piano. He did piano, but his body did the moving when he would play. You know,
You like the movement?
I like the movement
Yeah.
because it wasn't slamming down. I like even with movies. I like a good love story. I like a I
love
like
it.
and I watch it in the dark at home like I like Undercover Boss. I love that because I see how people have changed. It changes by
Yeah.
seeing the company,
Mm.
this big company run by
Corporate, like
corporate people,
like bosses.
bosses and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
yet I see that boss get in there and try to do that same job
Yeah.
that he's saying you should be able to do this.
Fill in my shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should, but they don't know what that job entails. You know, you don't know what that person that is trying to do this job for you
Yeah.
is having to put out
Yeah.
until they work that job. And then it changed their mind about the work
Mm-hmm.
that they haven't thinking these people should be able to do. Why can't you do it?
Yeah.
You the boss,
Yeah.
you know. But to see them change after they do that job, they see they need to pay these people more.
Any benefits?
The
and-
benefits should be better.
Yeah.
How to change their inside of that person
Yeah.
when they work that job.
That's good.
And you see how people don't judge so hard to they know what that person is going through.
That's, I do like that show too.
So I like to watch that story.
Yeah.
I like to watch.
What do you think about today's music?
Today's music, I'm not too hot on it because
Yeah.
in our time we could understand the words, what they were saying. You could understand the song. Now
Yeah.
it's this all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not as it's easy to listen to unless you're a young person. And I
Not
don't,
even me. People call me old man because I don't care for it as much.
well, see, that's what I don't want people to think. I'm against this music,
Oh, I'm
I'm
against
not.
it.
but I just don't like
Yeah,
it as well
yeah.
as I did our music in the '60s and '70s. I
Mm.
like that music, gospel and classic and all of that music.
So Nat King Cole's your favorite. That's great.
Yeah.
Didn't he do like a Christmas song? He what is it called? I don't know. He does one of the most like iconic Christmas
I'm dreaming
songs.
of white Christmas.
I'm dreaming of a white
White
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I-
that's the song that gives me chills every
Yeah.
time I hear it on the radio during Christmas time.
Christmas time. Yeah. Mhm.
I love that song.
And I even like our Ray Charles and
Oof, yeah.
good blues songs that tells a story of
Ray
how they've been
Charles.
hurted and how they've been wishing for you to come back home and all that kind of stuff.
Ray Charles.
Yeah.
You must have listened to like Miles Davis and
Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong.
all
Oh
those-
my
all
goodness.
those people. All those
Louis
people.
Armstrong must have been.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at clips like video clips
Mhm.
of Louis Armstrong, or I would listen to him singing, and
Down
I
in
would
New
just be
Orleans.
completely glued to the screen, or my ears would just be in heaven listening to that, to him singing, and that's just him singing. He's an incredible trumpet player.
Yeah, yeah.
He's so good.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
it do something to you inside.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think we get that as much today. It's a
Mm-mm.
different feeling. I mean, I'll actually I'll take that back. Today music is more so. It has a different purpose.
Right. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because when we was coming up in the '60s and '70s, you had to have that something that,
Spiritual lift.
yeah, you have to have that
Yeah.
to really feel and they were singing to that part of you that you needed that the spiritual side. What was the blues or whatever it was to get inside you to know the feeling.
Did you enjoy dancing?
I
Do you
did.
enjoy?
I enjoy dancing, but I was telling my we was talking the other day. I said, and one thing I regret.
Yeah.
I never danced with my husband
You never have?
because he never danced,
Oh.
and I didn't want to be dancing with other men's
No.
because he couldn't he didn't like to dance.
He didn't
was a
wanna
he was a quiet person.
He's shy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the same way, actually. I don't. I mean, I did this volunteer trip over spring break,
Mhm.
foster kids in North Carolina.
Mhm.
They were working on a talent show, and and at the end of the week, they all invited the two of my friends and I up on stage. We were volunteers, and we just were there watching. They invited us on stage to dance with them,
Mhm.
and I thought to myself, you know what? In any case, I would usually say no,
Mhm.
but I went up there, and I'm like, if these kids are having issues with confidence and with being stage shy or anything,
Mhm.
if I can get up there, act goofy, dance
Mhm.
around, be
Mhm.
free, like, and they see me and they're like, you know what, you look really terrible dancing, but at least you're really enjoying it.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that.
then,
Yeah.
then you can.
Yeah.
Then I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was around people. My sister, that was older, the next in line after me, she danced really well.
Your sister?
She was out. She played sports real well.
Hmm.
She played basketball, and my teacher, her teacher used to come and sit and beg my parents to let her go to the game tonight. So she was just that good. We always had to go together. We
Yeah.
couldn't go by ourselves. So at my high school, my mother's sister taught at the high school, so she didn't have no problem with letting us go there
Mm.
because she knew Mama Aunt Sally was going to be there, and she would keep an eye on us. You know, that's how they thought it. You know, at that time, and so, but she was good at dancing and sports and stuff. She wasn't shy about it. She could really dance and stuff. So we all had our.
Movement is like, I think dance and movement is like God's gift for us to be as free as we.
Right.
That's like the closest we are.
Mhm.
I think that, or listening to something like Nat King Cole, or
Mhm.
like, Louis Armstrong.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's great. I'm so glad that we got to talk finally.
I am too.
It took a long time. I've been so busy over this semester, but it's finally happened.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm glad to meet you because I just had a feeling that it was somebody that don't know the story
Yeah.
about what it's like to live in Mississippi.
I was so happy to hear it. I mean, I'm very glad to have met you. This is the part of the class that I was looking forward to the most,
Mhm.
because in class we will. I mean, I really enjoy Dr. Kinchin. I think he's a very, very, very
When he
nice
asked
guy.
me, I was so surprised. But I know we in church we have that we just it's just something about he knew my husband too
Yeah.
before he died, and he saw what we was.
Yeah.
And but I just wanted somebody else to hear the story from Mississippi
Yeah.
that everybody don't tell. Everybody can't tell because they didn't have it.
I can't wait to tell this story. I mean, okay, so I want to invite you to a couple of things coming up, but I don't have all the details, and I don't even have the dates yet. I can, if you would allow me to, call you tomorrow, if you have the free time, just to give you this information. Like one's like a kind of panel discussion. So the other people that were interviewed, as well as yourself, would we would just talk to you. That's it. And sometimes you can compare and you would be able to compare your stories.
Sorry, and that's why I would love to hear other people's stories coming out of Mississippi, or wherever they came from.
And I think it would be splendid if you were able to join us on that.
Okay, I would.
But I just have to get that information for you. And I think they have something else that they want to do. If you can't make one or the other, or even both, like, that's fine. But I'll give you a call like tomorrow or on Wednesday, and I'll give you the full details and the dates on them.
But it would just be interesting to know how somebody else tells a story.
Yeah, I'm very curious as well. Because I've already heard parts of my partner's stories or my classmates' stories, which are very sad.
That's what bothers me. Why was mine so different? To me, it's different than the ones I've heard.
I had a presumption that yours would be the same as far as, I know you've had. Everybody's struggle is different. Everybody's story is different, right? But their struggle, they got dealt different hands, and that made it very difficult. So you in your case, your community, especially your church community, and in your home, you didn't so much have to confront the segregation so much, or discrimination as much. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's from what I heard. That's what you just grew up in a very, very sharing and loving community, and you by faith moved up to Wisconsin, and you've made a life of your own that's just incredible. But everybody has their own story, and it from what I've heard, from only what classmates have told me, it's just the other stories were very, very sad. And so I was coming here today, and I was thinking, I'm so excited to meet her, because I've never heard a story about discrimination or about segregation, but then I come here, and then you tell me this, and I am just pleasantly surprised and moved by what you have told me, and I'm happy that I was wrong. So that's just great. Yeah, I love it.
Even my teachers in high school, they would tell me, they just couldn't believe. I couldn't believe some of the things that were happening,
and
because I could hear stories, and I never lived it, and I couldn't believe. Am I in a dream, or am I in a?
Yeah.
Am I?
That's what I feel like too. Is that that when I hear those other stories, it's
somebody's not. We're not on the same page.
It's a dream.
The dream.
And so, what I heard from you today, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, I can see that, because I grew up in a small community myself. And it was not as small as yours, I know that, but everybody knew each other. I had my own church community, and I can relate to things like that. And you also talked about how your parents had raised you, and the whole idea of asking permission from your dad, from your father first, and then your mom would agree. I agreed. could relate to that as well. I think that's really interesting.
Mhm.
Even though we've gone through completely different things and you've lived longer than I have.
Yeah.
So,
I uh, I remember when in our community, like I said, everybody had their own farms, but we all children of that farm, you know. We
Yeah.
all grew up, and Papa would always say he always wanted his own. Even I don't know if you know our uh, this football player from Tennessee. Uh, he died back here a while back,
okay.
but uh,
I probably wouldn't know
no,
the name.
you would know him. He was Tennessee. He played with the Tennessee Titans,
Mhm.
and he bought my papa's farm because he had lost it all to the white people, and he bought it. And then when he died, white people bought it back. But Papa would say that's when he started wanting his own before he lost that.
Mm.
And everybody around there, they had from 40 to 80 to 100 some acres of their own
Mm.
in that community that we lived in. And he always wanted something that for his family could go, and when he got ready for them to go and do what he wanted them to do, and not what somebody else told them they had to do.
Mm.
And he just always was as long as I can remember, he was a provider for his family was due. And the community shared that. Cousins and everything, we grew up like that in that community.
Hmm. Did you ever have, so from your story, from your perspective of, and then you hear everybody else's story, you're like, oh, this sounds like such a dream. Like, I can't believe that people went through this. Do you remember the time that it kind of hit you that you were unique and you had a story that was just kind of different than other people? Like, did you have a moment where you were just like, it hit you that
I've always thought that
even when you were a child,
when I was a child.
you just felt like you were different?
I did. I did.
Huh. That's great.
Because I always thought, now,
Yeah.
am I just living in a dream world? I used to dream a lot because my dad told me
Yeah.
long when I was a child, we was living on the farm and in the cotton field. Come on, Bob, you behind, and here I'm standing up on the hole, thinking about some place I've never been, some place I've never seen, but I knew I would get there one day. And why me? Because when I see things on TV that the mansions and all that kind of stuff, and how people live that had money, I never said I wish I had $1 million. I just wanted to be comfortable. And my life have been that way. I don't have a lot, but I got what I need.
That's great. I love your story.
So.
Is there anything else you wanted to share? I mean, I think I heard like everything. Have you ever had to do this kind of interview before?
No. But
so you were happy to do it, though. I'm glad.
I'm happy to let people know.
Yeah.
That God has kept His promise. He has blessed me.
That's great. That's good to hear. I need to hear something like that.
And
That's
it, it's not just me. I've seen it around me. The people that wanted to be blessed have been blessed.
Mm. That's great.
Because I tell my kids all the time, why would God give you something you wouldn't try to take care of it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. You gave me a lot to think about.
And I wanted people to know, to give your parents the credit that they deserve.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
They
yeah.
they didn't do what we do, but they did the best they could do at what they do. And that's what I tell my kids. I don't know everything, but I do what I know. And my son tells me that now, Mama, I don't know everything. I just do what I saw you do.
Yeah.
And that's what we learned from. We're the first teacher that they have. And I tell my kids all the time, watch what you say before your kids, because you're the first teacher. And my parents were my first teacher.
That's right. It's mine as well. I can see it. I've noticed it even within the last couple of years, especially, and this year, like as I reflect back on my career at Parkside and the things that I've done, and even throughout the interactions that I have with people and my friends and people like you, like I can just tell through who I am
Mm-hmm.
that it all stems from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I treat people, or the way that I converse, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I was watching my son that lives home with me.
Mm-hmm.
He would always say, "Oh, you think I'm just like Daddy." I said, I don't say a word. Then some days I look out the window and I see him doing with his kid, like I saw my husband doing with him. I said, "Yeah, you just like him."
Really?
He has him. He used to have my son, riding around on the tractor in the backyard, in the yard and stuff, doing things. And one day I looked out the window, and there he was, had his little grandson, the granddaughter on the tractor, doing the same thing my husband had him doing when he was
On the tractor.
And he said, "Yeah, you say I'm not gonna be like Daddy, but you just like him."
That's funny. Huh.
So,
Well, you have a fun afternoon.
yeah, you too. I'm glad to meet you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Yeah.
I know that we will, because, well, either we can do another thing and I can bring up something else to talk about, or I hope that you can come to our...
I would like to be there. I would like to hear the other stories.
Yeah?
I would have to hear that.
Sweet. Yeah, let me, what does your day look like tomorrow? Can I call you tomorrow?
Tomorrow I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow at 1. Other than that, it's
Tomorrow
okay.
at 1. If I were to call you at 12:15,
Yeah.
would you be able to
I'll be home then.
be home? Okay.
Mhm.
So, and at that point, I'll give you the more details and the dates and the times for those.
Okay.
And you don't have to feel obligated to go to. Although you said that you want to, I'm just saying
Mhm.
it's okay if you can't make it.
Yeah. Okay.
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 Great.
So have a good evening.
Yeah, you as well. I love talking.